Welcome to From the Honeycomb podcast. I am your host, Katerina and Join me as we explore stories of fearless female entrepreneurs and inspiring women in architecture, construction, engineering, and beyond. Each episode is a captivating blend of topics that resonate with the soul. Whether you're here to learn more about entrepreneurship, architecture, holistic living, or just need a little extra inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let the buzz of positive energy spark your curiosity. Today, I'm excited to welcome Jodie Snyder, a registered Ayurvedic lifestyle and wellness coach who also holds a master's in counseling psychology. Jodie has studied under renowned Ayurvedic masters, including Dr. Vasant Lad, and deepened her knowledge through spiritual pilgrimages and retreats. Now she resides in the island of Oahu in Hawaii, where she offers authentic Ayurvedic therapies to achieve optimal health and well-being. Jodie, welcome to From the Honeycomb podcast.
Thank you very much. What an intro.
Well, you had, on your website, when I was going through your bio, I was like, what do I pick? Because you have had such an amazing journey through Ayurveda and just your retreats and the pilgrimages and everything. And I know we're going to dive into it. So I really tried to pick the best of the best.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you. And as you know, we begin every episode by sharing something that we are grateful for in the present moment. So what are you grateful for?
With a heavy heart, I say this, usually gratitude is not accompanied with a heavy heart, but sometimes it is. I am so grateful to the city of Los Angeles for showing me so much about myself. My first yoga class that I ever took at 22 was in Santa Monica. My first career was in Hollywood. I went back to study later in life, and Los Angeles was the home for that. So as we are on this podcast this morning, the city is in a very almost unimaginable way right now, and that there are fires burning. We could go into that, but really, I just want to give so much gratitude and love for the city of Los Angeles for holding so many experiences. For me, it has such a deep place in my heart. I lived in California for 25 years before moving to Hawaii. So it definitely feels like home. And I know you are not right in that zone, but very close. And so just having so much gratitude for all that we learned through these experiences and hopefully how we all come together as a community and support.
Absolutely. I think that was such a beautiful gratitude, because I think too, I've been watching it, and I'm in Orange County, so I've been watching the news. I know I have friends who have been evacuated and clients, and it's been really hard to see. And I'm very grateful for the firefighters and the people helping. I actually plan on donating some of our clothes this weekend to help with the effort. And so I think it's really showing just that sense of community and what people can do to help each other in such a devastating time.
Absolutely. I made a donation to the Humane Society in Pasadena last night, just reading about all of the animals that they're taking in with burns. And I'm sure that they are traumatized just like so many of us. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So much gratitude.
Absolutely. And holding space for it. It's something, and I think you shared it beautifully, and you did the intro, it comes with a heavy heart, but I think that's something that gratitude and your relationship with the city and the places that have taught you something. And I know we can go on a whole tangent about this, but there is a gratitude to the places that you've lived that have shaped who you've become.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hi, it's me, Katerina. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share with you something that can change the trajectory of your life. If you are ready to start your own architecture firm but are feeling overwhelmed by where to begin, I understand, because I felt the same way when I first embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. This is why I have created the ebook, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. This comprehensive workbook contains everything I wish I had known before starting my own firm. From building a solid business plan to creating your brand, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm offers a step-by-step guide tailored to your timeline, whether you're launching your firm today, next month, or in a few years. Dive into essential topics like financial planning, organization strategies, and how to secure your first client, all in one convenient resource. That's right, you don't have to spend hours researching. I have done that for you so you can focus on building your business. And that's not all. With your purchase, you'll also receive an exclusive meditation for business owners, mindfulness tips, a crystal guide for support, and gratitude exercises to help you stay focused and positive throughout your journey. Turn your dream of having your own firm into a reality with the Mindful Blueprint for launching your architecture firm. Click on the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Now, let's dive into the episode. So with that, I want to dive into your journey with, can you share with the listeners, when did you discover Ayurveda and when did it really become, something that you became really passionate about?
Yeah, Ayurveda is part of the Vedic sciences. I can like to think of it kind of as a house. And that's a door I opened about 10 years ago. Prior to that, I had opened the door of yoga, as I said, when I was in my early 20s. And then Jyotish or Vedic astrology came after that. I happened to meet, it was actually Dr. Vasant Lad, one of his teachers at the Ayurvedic Institute. I had met him prior to really knowing much about Ayurveda. And I just became enamored with astrology and really how that could inform and help me become more aware and conscious of what was going on, what these other, influences were in my life. So then about 10 years ago, this question, I feel like the big questions in life often arise when we're going through a shift or metamorphosis in life. And I was certainly in that space. And I really wanted to know what it would feel like to be in my original state. And what does that mean? I didn't really know. I just knew that there was a part of how I could, be in my body in a different way than I had been previously. There is this beautiful word. It's a Sanskrit word. It's called swasta, and it's often used in Ayurveda. And it means to be situated in oneself or to sit in the seat of oneself. And I feel like that word embodies so much of this thing that I was seeking. And it wasn't a longing that maybe a program or, a Western doctor could show me. It was really something that was deep and specific to my constitution. And I didn't know how to get there. And when I met the astrology mentor, he told me about this process called panchakarma. And ironically, we actually happened to be going through that same process over in Bali at the same time. And I'll talk more about what that process is, but it was during that 21-day period of really resituating and rebalancing so many parts of my physical self, emotional self, mental self, subtle body, that I remember looking in the mirror one day saying, there I am. Like I could actually see myself again. There was something in the clarity in my eyes as I looked in the mirror. And after that, I go pretty deep into anything that I become passionate about. So that began my studies from there.
Wow. No, it's interesting you talk about yoga being kind of the basis, the foundation. I've briefly studied Vastu Shastra, which is one of the Vedic sciences.
Yes.
And I was introduced that through yoga. And I think it's so interesting how they all start to tie into each other and how for you as well, they started to tie into each other. And so walk us through kind of your experience then through like becoming a certified Ayurvedic practitioner then, because you found something you're passionate about. But then to turn it into something that then, becomes your job as well. When did that transition happen?
Funny note on the Vastu Shastra.
Yes.
When I was building out my project in Hawaii, which we'll talk about later, as you know, from being an architect and really working with spaces and how they're relational and how we are relational to them, there is something called the Brahmastan, as I'm sure you know. But for our listeners, when you walk in, it's to have a space and, to be clear of technology, to have a clear lightness to it, and also to have a line of vision through all parts of the house so that there's clarity and transparency. So I'm building out the project. I walk in the house, and I'm in the main reception area. Brahmastan, okay, check that box. Good. Look to the north, beautiful clear view. Behind me to the south, beautiful clear view. Out to the east, I can see the ocean. Perfect. And my view is blocked to the left side, to the west side. And so I'm standing there and I walk over to the drywaller and I say, I'm going to put a box on the wall. Can you please cut it out? He's like, well, no, because then that looks like right into the bedroom. And that's kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, if it's where I think it is, it's going to align perfectly to look out the window in the bedroom too. But so, you know, he gets his saw out, he cuts it out. I take a look through it. I'm like, perfect. And so to, to all the contractors coming through, there were lots of stories about why that little hole was in the wall. And when we were in completion of the project, we had a celebration, and I finally told them what that was for. And I said it's so that there's transparency and clarity in the space so that nothing gets stagnant or stuck or held. And they're like, oh, okay. We wondered. So that's my little boss do story.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, what a fun project.
I might appreciate it as an architect. Yeah,
absolutely. I wish I had been the architect on that project.
I do too. Yes, we should have met a year earlier.
Yeah.
So I have multi-professions, and I've always been that way. I've pretty much always worked for myself. So I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. And so when I find something that piques my curiosity, what I realized years ago is that there's a common theme and thread through it all. Started with a high school teacher. He just taught this class on, I think it was a humanities class, and I just fell in love. I really wanted to understand the human experience. And whether it's been, my first job was in Hollywood, actually, in advertising back in the day, back in the 90s. So whether it was like connecting through products or, you know, it has kind of transformed into working with people and energies, stuff like that. But there's always been this common theme. So when Ayurveda came into my life, I hopped on a plane to India because one of my core tenets that I live by is going to the source. Going to the source of anything that might be. And I really wanted to go to the home of where this beautiful, amazing Vedic science originated from. And so I found Dr. Arun Sharma up in the hills of Dharmasala, and I did my first training through him. And I fell in love when we spent 2 days, a bunch of Western students listing every pathology that we could ever think of, and that it fit into one of these 3 categories. Those categories are called doshas in Ayurveda, but seeing the world through a different lens of how in our bodies there's, you know, either accumulation happening, there's maybe irritation or degeneration happening. And, you know, that can be applied in so many different ways. But we were specifically talking about any disease or any, you know, problem that could come up in the physical body. And wow, if it into one of these 3 categories, what a way or what a lens to see through. So that started my train of curiosity, I would say. And then I trained in doing the Ayurvedic body therapy. So that's really what my love is. And from there, I found Dr. Vasant Lad's work. At the time, he was at the Ayurvedic Institute in New Mexico. That since has moved over to North Carolina. And then I have spent time with him in Pune, India. So my training has been, whereas my psychological training has been very straightforward, went to grad school for 3 years, did the thing, go through, you know, licensure processing. My Ayurvedic training has been like a little bits and pieces everywhere. I did my formal training with Katie Silcox at the Shakti School, and definitely shout out to her and her program. It's a feminine form of Ayurveda. She too has studied under Dr. Lad. So I did a year-long training with her and continue. It's a lifelong. In fact, I'm on my way to India next Saturday to do more training. So, yes.
Amazing. I am so jealous that you have been to India. It's on my list. I would love to go to the source, exactly like you said, because I think there's so much more power into going to, yes, there's so much you can do, reading, studying, but then going to the source and finding out, you know, more of where it originated from. I think it also gives you a deeper appreciation for whatever it is you're learning. And so for you, for Ayurveda. So I think that's so beautiful that you were able to go to India. And I love that it sounds like you're just this entrepreneur and have so many different interests. And I think that's the other entrepreneurs I've been talking with, and even myself, is I have all these different interests. You do. And it's so interesting because you're thirst of wanting to constantly learn and to better yourself and just find out more information, and then just whatever sparks your curiosity too. So it's really interesting. I can see why your journey has, flowed the way it has because of your curiosity to learn more.
Under the umbrella of entrepreneurship, we get to do that, right? We get to bring in all of these things that we find curiosity and potentially passion for. And it allows for that. We can create this space and make room for multiple interests to come in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then, speaking of entrepreneurship, I'd love to hear about your business in Hawaii, Hina Hale. And why did you choose Oahu specifically? And just, can you, I think it just seems so interesting to me, because I know there's so many Ayurvedic coaches online and you can find so many people,
Sure.
but you have created now a beautiful sanctuary. I haven't been there personally, but I've seen on your website, and we actually met through your friend airplane that I met on the airplane flying from Oahu. And she told me about your place, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have Jodie on. I think this would be a great guest to have on, not only because, you practice Ayurveda, but also you actually have now created a physical space. And I would love to hear what that was like for you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the distinctions, whether, because I've thought about this for astrology as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have another concept and vision to bring a home to astrology to over in New Mexico, another place that I feel very close to. And when I think about what is healing, I think about what is life affirming.
Mm-hmm.
And life affirming to me is being very close to the natural world, as close as possible and reasonable, especially when building out a project.
Mm-hmm.
And Hawaii, I've had a long relationship, a long conversation with Hawaii. As I mentioned, I lived in California for many years. When I left California, I actually moved up to Oregon to raise children with my former husband. And when we left California at the time, we were very fortunate to be able to purchase a home in Hawaii and in Oregon at that time.
Oh, wow.
So I've had a property there for 15 years or so, but haven't been able to live on island full time. But the dream came to me, the vision came to me long, long before I could execute it. I was raising children, and that was the focus of my life for many years. And when they became adults and, kind of went on to live their adult lives, there's one of the teachings I've learned is right timing for things. I don't know how you have felt about when you started your business too, there's like right timing, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not so right. And then again, that's where astrology can come in to help build, some underpinning of is this the right time? Is this a supported energy? And it was. So about 2 years ago, I transferred, put everything in storage, traveled for a year, and then went over to begin this project. And I had brought women over to Hawaii for years and years, the whole time that I had the home in Hawaii. And so it was already infused with such incredible energy. Probably 100 or more women had come through over the years and really done some deep work there. So this was just the next version or manifestation of that. So Hina Hale, just a little side note on the name. Yes. Mahina is the name of the moon in the Hawaiian language, and Hina is actually the light that is emitted from the moon. So it has this very this soft, silvery kind of light. And then Hale is the Hawaiian word for home. So it's really the home. It's not the home of the moon, but it's the home of the essence of what the moon is. For me, that association is very closely linked to healing, that the more feminine and yin energy can be incredibly healing. So that's a little background on the name. I spent a year building out the sanctuary. I love it because that's what that descriptor, that's what I feel. And hopefully the clients that I work with, they feel when they walk in as well. It also has a deeply protective energy. Having the container, for deeper work to happen is very important, and it has to have a level of protection around that. So I do that in certain ways. I mean, it literally has a protection, like wall or,
Mm-hmm.
around it. But that is to let in flow inside that container. And we have so many blessings being in Hawaii, so close to, sit right on the edge of the ocean. Hawaii is the most populated remote place in the entire world. If you look on a map,
That's
it's
true.
kind of mind blowing. It is, yeah. And it
Mm-hmm.
also sits at the tallest peak of anywhere in the world, from tip all the way down to the base ocean floor. It's higher than the Himalayas or anything. So over Big Island. So if you just think about the energetics of the remoteness, which however you can, some people that feels very isolating, for other people that feels like a lot of spaciousness. And if you think about just kind of the energetics of it, it's already set up to be a very healing place and naturally. Hawaii is like anywhere else that it has its, it has definitely all of the human elements of living anywhere in the world. We're not immune to that by any means in Hawaii, but it does have an inherent connection to the natural world there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It really does. I love that you bring that up. And I wish I had my Kindle near me. I'm actually reading a book. It's called The Daughter of Molokai. And
Oh,
I don't know
yes,
if you know
I've read
it.
that.
Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have read it. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading there, and it's when Rachel is talking to her grandson, and they're in, and I'm going to butcher the name of the cove. Is it the Hanama Bay? Right by Diamond
Hanama
Head?
Bay.
Hanama Bay,
Yes,
yes.
Hanama Bay. Mm-hmm.
Hanama Bay. And he's talking about just seeing the sea life. And there's a word for it or something in Hawaiian. I was just reading this last night when I was going to bed. The connection that Hawaiians also have to the land and to the sea, and just the history that even brings. And I think that also helps with the energy of now modern day when we are there in Hawaii. You feel that because it's the culture. It's the culture that was there before, and just the relationship that Hawaiians have with, Mother Nature. And it's amazing to see. So I see why you even pick the space for the sanctuary, why you hold retreats there, because it's great to do certain retreats and, in certain places, but to find a place that is so healing on so many deeper levels. And I think it's a multi-generational healing as well, just because of the history of the island as well.
Absolutely. And there's this beautiful parallel connection that I've been finding there when you brought up the Hawaiian language, that most of the words in the Hawaiian language have multiple meanings. There's kind of the more direct translation of it, but then there's much deeper layers. The Sanskrit language, which is what I am most attuned to, it is the same. It's not just like in English, oftentimes we just have a direct translation of it, but in Sanskrit, there are multiple meanings as well, just like that word swasta that I brought up, to be seated or situated in the seat of oneself. That has many, many layers. So we could have a whole podcast just on that.
I'm sure.
So I love the generational aspect, as you brought up, and also the multi-layered aspect. And that really can mirror the experience of, coming to like some of the programs that we offer at Hina Hale, especially the longer ones. There are many layers in which to unseat any imbalances within our mind dosha or our body dosha, just our relationship to the world. So that's where really I feel the deeper healing is in going, kind of dropping anchors and picking up rocks and turning them over, Yeah.
No, absolutely. And can you share with us some of the programs that you do offer? Because like I said, I've been on your website, I've looked at it, but can you share with the listeners, if they're curious about it, what are some programs that you do offer?
Yeah. So before I talk about the programs, I like to just point out how would you even know that a program, an Ayurvedic program is right for you, whether it's Hina Hale or anywhere. There are many wonderful places to go for Ayurvedic healing, even within the US. Definitely Dr. Vasant Lad. He's over in Asheville, North Carolina, for any of your listeners who are over on the East Coast.
Oh, great.
Cannot say enough about that. There are many centers in the US. I know Los Angeles has some very well-known practitioners and amazing people. What's unique about Hawaii is that I think some people come because it's the destination. They're really curious about Hawaii and they want to go to Hawaii, and then they come and then they realize so much more how they can work together. So I don't overlook that fact, but some of the reasons that someone might come is they're just so like, I think anyone who is feeling this, which might be a lot of us, like there is a tiredness that we just can't even explain. It's almost like an unprecedented weariness or tired or exhaustion, let's say. Maybe you're feeling discomfort in your body. So maybe you're having rashes or outbreaks or like creaky joints or headaches or, a multitude of any discomfort in the body. Your back hurts. Maybe it's a lack of focus, whether that's like you're overwhelmed and you're often in this kind of lockdown state. The thing that came to me or Ayurveda was really the most important is I felt like I was sleepwalking through my life. I really felt, I remember writing that down in my journal, and it unfolded a massive shift for me in my life. So Ayurveda can help us, and many other reasons, but those could be some indicators of why you might want to seek out Ayurveda as a healing modality and really as a source of rebalancing in life. So the programs that I offer, I'll start with the one that is nearest and dearest to my heart, and that was longer because Ayurveda doesn't work like snappy, give me the herb, give me the pill, give me the whatever,
fix,
If there's no instant fix to it, it's a slow, steady, applied pressure, basically, is the salve of Ayurveda in my experience. And there's another beautiful word called rasayana, like we're building up the healthy juices of our life, not just on our physical body, but also our mental, emotional bodies, our spiritual body. And that takes time. So I encourage, if there is the resourcing for it, not just monetary, but also the resourcing that you have support at home, or if you need to take time away from your job or your children, or, any stressors of life, maybe caretaking an older parent, or, whatever they are, that you have the resourcing to be able to commit. I really believe that, change is 10 days or more. If I could take anyone who would want to do it, 21 days would be ideal, but not always realistic. So most clients that come for 10 days end up coming for longer. They're usually there 13, 14 days. And we really, through having what I called structured rest, and that again is giving a container, but then being able to slot in like regular meal times, going to bed by 9 or 9:30. There's a predictability. You get your treatments in the afternoon. In the mornings, we, do integration work, that there becomes this rhythm, and the nervous system really responds to that. It really loves to have structure. It really loves to kind of know so that it can relax. So that takes a little while. So programs anywhere from 10 to 21 days really are able to address deeper imbalances. I offer a 5-day program. There, I would say that is probably the most popular. And that's for someone who might want to come in, have exposure to what Ayurvedic treatments are like, definitely to Ayurvedic food. I am so blessed that I met my partner 3 years ago in New Mexico, and he is an Ayurvedic chef. So we co-created. I know, really. What are
amazing?
Thank you, universe.
Yes.
It's so beautiful meeting my partner. So we co-conspired the project. It really was probably my baby, but he certainly came along and amplified so much of what we offer. And usually when people leave and I, ask them, just tell me about your experience, Sky always comes up. He's like, Sky can serve me the same thing every day. Because oftentimes when people come, they're on a mono diet for a few days. Yeah. He serves me the same thing, but my gosh, it tastes so good. And his smile and, he provides such a healing element. But there's a 5-day program. So you're introduced to what it's like to have, what is it like? Do most people get massages every day in a row? No, but there is something that again can happen when you're having treatments each day, eating, sattvic, Ayurvedic food every day. and having a structure. So it's kind of an introduction, a taste to that. And we can really get through a lot of stuff. I use my counselor background, and I also bring that in because we need to address the mind doshas, any imbalances in the mind as well, or else it's very difficult to work just on one aspect. And then I just introduced a new program. It's a 3-day Ayurvedic juice cleanse. So I noticed that there was people coming through the islands. I'm on the island of Oahu. Maybe they're transiting in or through Honolulu or going to another island, but they have a couple days. And the juice cleanse can work, it's coupled with the Ayurvedic treatments. It's not just like a deprivation cleanse. It's actually meant to be much more nourishing than that. But you do use 5 juices a day. There can be a detox at the end of that if someone chooses. But the main thing is that they get to clean and clear their slate for a couple of days and just come and be in a beautiful healing space and clean out their body a little bit. And the joy in that for me is I get to meet another amazing person. I cannot believe the people that have come through Hina Hale this year. It's been an absolute gift. Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine. And I love hearing how you've structured everything too, where you have the options. Of course, like in our fast-paced modern world, we don't have a lot of us don't have the 21 days. And so you offer the 10 days, you offer the 5 days, and you offer even 3 days to let people be able to even get an introduction. I think it also, for someone, it might be very intimidating starting something, especially signing up for something so long and seeing the structure. I personally love structure. So when I was looking through your schedule, I was like, this sounds great. I mean, I go to bed at 8:30. So this was like, I'm like, this is
perfect.
9 o'clock. I was like, 9 o'clock, I am in bed already.
Easy peasy for me.
Very easy. And then the foods too, that you accommodate with the foods and just everything about it, it seems like you've designed such a well put together program that really seems, and I've read your reviews, and people really do come away feeling healed. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you've created, but then going back to what we talked about, the energy of Hawaii and the island itself. So I think you've really picked just the perfect place for your business.
And one of the Ayurvedic principles is that we are self-healing beings, that I can provide the container and Sky can, create the beautiful food and do the treatments. But really it's predicated on we're self-healing beings, and given the resources, like our bodies know what to do. We can heal. We can heal ourselves. And I, on the website, I was very clear to point out, like, these programs, if you want to feel 30% better or 20% better, maybe 50% better if you're really lucky, like, nothing is like you are going to walk away a new person. There might be a gem or two that you take away from this, but to heal our bodies, our minds, especially in the very out of balance, in Ayurveda we call this vata, this kind of energy that is swirling and moving at such a rapid, fast, amplified pace, that takes a lot of restraint and work on our parts and being in these human bodies to kind of not disengage but integrate, like, how fast the pace is and how fast things are moving. We only need the element of fire to show us that one day this existed, and 24 hours from now, it does not in the same form. And that underneath the ashes or the rubble or the complete destruction, that there is a much deeper foundation under that. And that's what you're speaking of, like the land, like the land can heal. And so too can we heal within our bodies. We are not separate from nature. So very clear to point out that healing does not come from Jodie. Healing can be supported through Jodie or Hina Hale, but healing is always within oneself. Ayurveda just gives us a very beautiful roadmap for that.
I love how you said that, the roadmap. I just love everything you just said. I mean, I'm ready to go to Hawaii right now. It all sounds amazing. One thing I do want to kind of pivot a little bit to just ask from an entrepreneur standpoint, and I've been asking this other entrepreneurs, is you found something that you are passionate about, that you love, and you turn it into a business. with that comes having to run a business. So then there's the elements that you may not be passionate about. Like for me, a lot of it is the admin work, in my architecture business.
100%.
And so how has the like you even said, you've been an entrepreneur kind of your whole life. How has it been for you entrepreneurship wise, building a location to have your business in? Just how has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, I'm with you on the admin. Yes, everything that I don't think we need to spend time talking about taxes and accounting and all of those things. They deplete my energy, to be like totally clear.
Oh, of course.
And what I'm learning, still in the learning curve of where I can outsource some of that, what feels right to outsource. And that leads me to my bigger learning, which I love to share. And that's around prosperity, around money, around flow, and an entrepreneurship, because in creating this lifelong vision, really, I traded financial security. So I'm in a very different position than when I went in, a couple years ago going into the project. And I don't need to tell you, like, double over time, double over budget,
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hawaii, that was like triple everything.
I'm sure.
It takes my breath away what it really takes on all fronts to complete anything on an island. So I am recovering probably still from that experience. But about 4 months ago, I realized I have to create a new relationship to money and prosperity. And I love that I was given a couple tests of this. I had a potential client call one day and say, I'm ready. I'm actually going to get on a flight tomorrow, without even checking, if that was even a possibility. I'm bringing my friend. We're going to come for 14 days and I'm ready to give you my credit card number. And I'm like, wow, okay. I need a little more information. Can we hop on a Zoom call? Like, I just, anyone that I work with for that period of time, I like to have interaction with them first. So just make sure they understand and I get a feel for what their, intentions are. And so it became clear within about 5 or 10 minutes of the conversation that there were other things going on and that her energy was better directed towards serving herself in a different way. And I checked myself in that moment. It's like, yes, staying in integrity, staying in alignment. Perhaps you've experienced this where, a client comes to you and that like, it's just not really going to be the right fit or the right energy, or the timing's not right, or whatever it is. In this particular case, I said, please go be kind and nurturing to yourself and get help in this particular way. And then I would love to work with you after. But like, you have to show up in a clean way. Like, we can't do the work without this other part first. That, and I didn't override my intuition in that moment. And I didn't let the kind of dangling fruit, let's say, become the thing. So after that, I realized, like, I really do need to create a different relationship with finances if I'm going to stay in integrity and move forward and really do this work, for the next, amount of time. And so I really have been working with a lot of mantras around this. And that is that, like, I am a conduit for flow as it comes in. And it's been like the law of attraction. Like, if you build it, they will come. That has been the case with Hina Hale. I have so much gratitude for that. And as soon as it comes in, it seems to kind of flow right back out. Like, we need to put the waterfall in, we need to do this, or we need to do that, or, oh, that was unexpected, whatever it might be. So really learning that abundance and flow, another word for this that I like to use is Shakti. It's this animating energy of life. And the hardest part for that, or the part I'm still working on, is that there has to be a level of surrender, and that all my own needs will be met in the most amazing of ways. I just need to allow for it. And as someone, who's paying the taxes and doing all the things, they sometimes conflict. But the more I soften and lean into that principle, really lean into it, not just like kind of the bullshit of it.
Yeah.
Like if I really lean into it, like it's scary, like, and it's showing me so much. It's the teaching that I'm learning right now in my life regarding entrepreneurship, running business, because I love the work that I do. I was talking to a friend the other day and she said, I'm waking up every day and I'm asking the question, do I love what I'm doing today? I said, the therapist in me is like, well, maybe we could reframe that to, do I like what I'm doing every day? Because we can't love everything we're doing.
No, you
maybe
can't.
we can, but do I at least like what I'm doing?
Yeah.
You know, and everyone's going to have their own threshold. I'm like, if it's like 70, 80%, that's pretty good. And I have to say, I'm well above that with the work I'm doing. And there also is the part that also needs to be the responsible, you know, and we're still working within paradigms and systems that require us to show up and pay our taxes and do the things. So it's that dance right now.
Wow. First, thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate it. And then to beautifully and eloquently explain what it is like being a business owner in that sense of having to, especially with that potential client come in. I'm experiencing that right now with a client where I just met with them. At first, I was like, is this someone I can bring on? Because I know it's going to be taxing energetically, you know, bringing someone on. But then work is slowing down a little bit. Wouldn't this be a great placeholder? And at the end of the day, it's not worth it. And I think I also am working on my relationship this year. I plan on working on my relationship with money as well with my business and kind of learning to delegate more and things. And so I think you also beautifully said that in you're working on your relationship with money, which I think every business owner has to have that, you know, internal conversation with themselves on also, is it worth bringing on this project, this client, whatever it is? Because sometimes, yes, that dollar amount can look great in the moment, but then what is it worth it in the end? You know, is it worth your health, your mental, you know, not only your physical health, mental health, whatever it is that, whatever that project client it is, then ends up bringing out of you as well. So I loved absolutely everything you just said. I don't even like, I have no follow up. I think it was incredible. I am inspired. You have me thinking more and more about my relationship with money as a business owner. I think that was Jodie just blew me away. I really, really love what you shared.
I'll lean back into an Ayurvedic principle of right time, right place, right circumstance. So, you know, like this is the right time, right place, right circumstance to be creating or having this conversation with money and what it means and what our relationship is. And at other times, you know, it might not. The idea of sitting with non-permanence, especially, you know, I'm in the middle part of life, like squarely in the middle part, I'm like past the arc now, going down the other side. Really this idea that's being mirrored for me in almost all the ways in life. And again, our dear city of Los Angeles is showing us this too, that like nothing is lasting forever, that there is always flow, and this idea of non-permanence. So becoming, you know, kind of wound around the money issue, like just creates almost like a noose effect. It doesn't allow the right energy to then move in. You know, think about if you would have taken on that client, let's say, or maybe you still will, or maybe in the future, you know, well, I'm sure we all have those moments where we say yes when we really mean no. And, you know, it stops the energy and flow from other things to happen. So I really feel like that's one of the deep, solid lessons that I'm moving through at this moment. And I imagine other people are in their own ways as well. Yeah. But as you know, I really love the saying, like, if you build it, like they will come. And whether it's a home for somebody or it's a home for a business someone is starting, that four walls and structure are actually important still. And to kind of bring us all the way back around in the conversation where we started is that I really wanted to build an actual physical home for Ayurveda. And there are other places that do this, of course, but having a structure, a landing pad, especially as we move into these new energies of AI and, you know, where there isn't physicality, there's not a physical structure to ground us. We are still in a human body. And until we're not in a human body, like we still need to ground is a perspective that I have. Like we still need to stay embodied until there maybe comes a point when that won't be the case. But for right now it is. And our homes really can provide that for us.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So your work is important. All of our work is important.
It is. It all is. That was very therapeutic to listen to and so reassuring as well. I think especially kind of even going back to, the gratitude you shared about LA and just seeing, our homes and the businesses and just everything. It has all come really full circle. Jodie, thank you so much for taking the time to come on From the Honeycomb podcast and for just sharing your insights, your journey, your story with us. That was absolutely incredible. But then even, diving deep into relationship with money as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, and what that's like and the realities of it. I think listeners are really going to resonate with your message. So I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate it. And it's so good to meet you. I'll see you in Hawaii.
Yes, of course. And where can listeners find you?
So you can check out the website. It's www.hinahale.com, Hina, and then Hale is Hale. We are on Instagram, Hina Hale Hawaii, and Facebook, Hina Hale.
Perfect. I'll provide links in the show notes. Jodie, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to rate, review, and share it with your friends. To stay connected, follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb podcast, and you can support the podcast through the Patreon link in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter where I share exclusive behind-the-scene content and tips on running a mindful and successful architecture business. Thank you again for listening, and stay curious.